My name is Emily. Saturday night was like any other night in our small town. The streets were quiet except for the nearest bar, which was far away from the hustle and bustle. The air was thick and dense, as if it was holding something back. Just like at night, you can feel something lingering, even if you can't put your finger on it. I'm in my room, sprawled out on the bed, trying to distract yourself with the old TV. Something about the ridiculous exploits of a talking sponge always makes me less worried. So I watched SpongeBob SquarePants while the soundtrack played. I feel relaxed. The familiar smiles of my favorite cartoons filled the space around me. But for some reason, there was a constant feeling that something was wrong. Suddenly, I heard footsteps in the hallway, and this was followed by my cousin Cameron yelling in frustration. When he was in the house, he shouted, "Why did you call me?" His voice was confused and angry. I stopped. I didn't call him. I glanced at my phone, still sitting quietly on the bedside table. But he does not appear to have been persuaded. "I didn't call you," I shouted back, but he was already going to the kitchen. While checking the phone, the hair on the back of my neck stood up and my heart began pounding in my chest. But then something happened that I still can't explain. Cameron's phone rang. He has his own number displayed on the screen. I felt my stomach twist into knots. "This isn't funny," I muttered to myself. Cameron's face paled as he answered the phone. There was no sound from the other end of the line. There was only a still sound. He looked at me with wide eyes and slammed the phone down. We were trying to think of strange situations. This is when I felt the chills. It was as if the temperature in the room had dropped, as if the walls were closing in. Cameron looked at me. He opened and closed his mouth, as if trying to find the right words. At first, we just stood there, uncomfortable and confused, with no one saying anything. That's when we heard about it. A distant train horn sounded off the tracks. Just a normal sound, right? But then something else changed. The train didn't make a continuous noise like usual. It sounds hopeless. It's like trying to stop the car and the driver honks in vain to warn everyone. But the sound of metal hitting metal filled the night air. My bones creaked. We stood there silently, trying to make sense of strange phone calls and strange cries, to ask for help from the train. But then, as soon as it started, the sound stopped. A few minutes later, we learned the terrifying truth. A drunken man leaves a bar and stumbles and walks along the train tracks. The train could not stop in time. It felt like a cold wave was washing over me. The phone, the strange energy in the air, connected to that moment somehow. Time seems to split apart in a dark, miserable world beyond our reach. The ordinary world we live in, and the night isn't over yet. Later, still trying to shake off my uneasiness, I decided to take a photo to show to a close friend. Her phone needs a new wallpaper because she's a SpongeBob fan. In an attempt to capture the silly little sponge in beautiful animation, so I pointed the camera at the TV screen, but as I pressed the button, something feels wrong. The air in the room felt even heavier, and I could almost hear a faint whisper. Too faint to understand, but there, at the edge of my ear, it wasn't SpongeBob looking back at me when the image finally loaded. Panels, which often have colored animations instead of harsh black and white. But what's worse is that the face that replaces SpongeBob is that of a man, distorted in sorrow, eyes wide and hopeless. His hand reached towards me, fingers spread out as he crouched down from the screen. It's like being stuck in another world. There were terrifying distortions and forms within his reach. I scream out, I can't help it. I hurriedly got out of bed. Run to show it to Cameron. And then my parents looked. Look! I staggered as I reached for the phone. There was a picture of that man there. His hand gripped the edge of the screen. My mother turned pale and ordered me to take it off immediately. "Get rid of it, Emily, get rid of it," she said, her voice shaking. But I couldn't. There was something holding me there, staring at the screen. Even though fear clings to my chest, that image is still in my head, embedded in memory. Even though I deleted it, I cannot sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I found his face to be hopeless, and he looked like he wanted something from me. But what is it? As I lay in bed that night, I couldn't let go of the feeling that something was taking over me. Feel the people who don't exist in our world. And I can't stop thinking about the phone. The train creaked hopelessly. Terrifying figure on my screen. What does it mean? What is a warning? Or maybe it's just a harsh reminder to the world of how easily life and death can be confused. Every time I go to the screen now, or when the phone suddenly rings, I remember that night. I wondered if I had been warned by that man. Whoever it is was trying to warn me. Or maybe, just maybe, he was trying to reach out to someone. Someone like me. And as I lie in bed now, I can't help but feel like something is still watching, just beyond my window. Waiting, watching, waiting for me to understand. My name is Mia. I'm 25 years old. I've come a long way, but sometimes I still feel like I'm carrying a burden from my past that I just won't let go of. Growing up, life was not kind. I'm always the new kid, wandering from one place to another, unable to build lasting friendships. I don't understand why other children, to have everything I want, whether it's a Christmas gift, birthday party, holiday with family, when all I had was something I could scrape together. My parents tried, but it's never enough. I started working when I was 15 just to help us collapse. My friends didn't understand why I couldn't go out and play or why I looked older than I was. I remember the jealousy in my heart of feeling that I wasn't like the other kids and feeling inferior. It's a heavy feeling, even with adults. When I was 18 years old, I went through a lot that most people have never encountered before. I was in a relationship that made me so upset that I no longer recognized myself. It wasn't until I was 23 that I finally let go, started healing, and found someone who loved me for who I was. I got a job where they respected me, and for the first time, I felt like life might have something better in store for me. Then came Jake. He was 26 years old, and he was everything I ever thought he would be. Gentle, kind, with a nerdy passion. Like me, he loved what I love, without asking any questions. And his warmth began to melt the walls I had built around me, myself slowly. First, we became friends, then it was something else. And before I knew it, I also have a group of people that I call family, someone who accepts me for who I am, bugs, and everything. This year, I decided I wanted to do something special for my birthday. It is a way to honor the woman I once was and the woman I am. The spirited Jake planned the perfect day. We were going to Build-A-Bear, something I had always wanted to do but never had the opportunity to go. Afterwards, we will go to a classy jazz club. I could feel the excitement building within me as the day approached. But at the same time, something in my mind was pulling me towards memories, things I hadn't thought about in years. I was only about 22 when it happened one morning while I was driving to work. The world was still asleep, and the roads were deserted. My shift at the mall started at 4 a.m., and I was so tired I couldn't keep my eyes open. I don't believe in ghosts or anything supernatural, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching me as I drove down a quiet highway in Katy, Texas. And it began like this. In the blink of an eye, edge of my vision, I thought I saw a figure standing on the side of the road. First, I brushed it off. The tips of the fog or trees are like nothing else. But as I walked, I couldn't help but look. The shape is strange. It is dressed in white. So white, it almost glowed in the dim light of the street lamps. The cloth looked agitated, not blowing in the wind. No, it was going, slowly, slowly as if it knew its purpose. But it doesn't walk like a person. It didn't move like a human at all. My hands squeezed the steering wheel tightly as I felt my breath catch in my throat. Her arms hung at her sides. Her legs were bent strangely. Her movements were strange. It's like a person, but not quite. There's something out there. There was something animalistic about the way he walked, just like any other half-human. I thought I was seeing things. My mind was playing tricks on me, with exhaustion. But it wasn't. It was. I looked back again, and my heart stopped. The figure disappeared. It disappeared. There was nothing there. The road was empty. The smell of burnt rubber filled the air from my sudden stop as I backed away in panic. And can't breathe, I told myself it was nothing, I was imagining it. But I couldn't shake the white image of that figure. It was so strange, so wrong, that I could still find myself thinking about the hair on the back of my neck. I tried to convince myself that it was just exhaustion. It's just my brain, I know what I saw, deep down. And it makes me suffer. Now it's my birthday, surrounded by laughter, love, and happiness. I can't remember that day. The shadow that lurks in the recesses of my mind prevents me from escaping. But as Jake and I stood in the soft glow of the Build-A-Bear workshop, I realized something important. I'm not the scared, lonely woman I used to be. I have created something new, something real. I have people who love me and understand me. The strange broken pieces of people hugging each other. And maybe, just maybe, that white shadow is a part of me too. It's a reminder that I'm still here and still moving forward, no matter how strange or scary the world gets. Fear never completely leaves you, but it won't stop you from dancing, laughing, or living. That evening, as we entered the jazz club, Jake squeezed my hand and I smiled at him. I finally feel like I'm breathing. The lights are dim and the music is soothing. Every part of my life, whether it's happiness, sadness, mystery, it's all woven into something beautiful. What I saw that night in Katy would not have made sense to me. Sometimes some things are meant to be unexplained, but I understand this. I don't need to be defined by my past. No matter how awesome it is, I am more than my ghost. And today, I choose happiness. I choose to move on.